what I really want to do next is talk about this pressure mat that you're standing on, which has over 600 sensors measuring what you're actually doing underfoot. And what's so vital to the golf swing is proper footwork that allows you to focus more on what you're doing with your lower body rather than what the club is doing all the time. And this is a fantastic and very efficient way to actually gain yardage and more consistency rather than focusing what the club and the club face is always doing. So what I'd like to do is actually show the viewer how we can get you 50-50 from your trail to lead foot or your right and left foot, and how this pressure trace actually goes into the center of those crosshairs. It also shows you the toe and the heel of what you're doing front to back. And what we would like to do is also see that very relative to 50-50. That's gonna tell me as the instructor that you're very stable before you go ahead and take that club back. So let's get the crosshairs right in the middle, and as soon as you feel like you've done that, let's go ahead and fire our shot. That felt good. That was fantastic.
You know what, very quickly, we can do this in 30 seconds, but the ground forces of a professional versus an amateur and the pressure distribution here, what do you guys notice between the difference in an amateur and a professional? What can an amateur do to get more like a professional in terms of balance and pressure?
I would honestly say continue to rotate. So if you notice on the right-hand side, there's not really any backup on the trace. It's very fluid. There's just a little tiny blip there, but that's probably getting up on the toes just a little bit throughout the swing. On the other side, you have this massive backup where it almost seems to stall out probably mid-downswing. And all I would have to say to that person is we have to continue to keep rotating.
The difference is this could come back to function again. But the fact is I can't start, and I've seen 1,000 traces, right? And way different ones of people performing at an extremely high level, right? But what we do know, for the most part, is that every single player golfing are skating, right? They're skating, they're twisting, and they're jumping. That is an absolute fact, okay? Very few are doing 3, like to significant, like to equality. You have someone like Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland is a big shifter and a big turner, okay? Then you get someone like Zach Johnson. They're 0 shift, it's rotation and vertical, okay? So the way they're generating power or speed, like Lexi Thompson, I can't tell you the amount of young girls who've come to me you read about them every week in the golf magazines, and then you never read about them again because someone wanted to see them to stop jumping, right? So, I mean, what you're gonna see a little bit here, right, is this is just in the setup, so I'm sure, especially if you look at the heel torque, so that's setup, right? This is supposed to be setup, right?
This is at address.
It's almost like they're trying to preset into that heel.
So this guy is like this, right? So what do I see with amateurs? I see that their center of mass is too far back, but 2, their body is way too open, right? So it'd be really hard to have that much pressure in my heel, and if I was this way, because now I'm going to be more big toe. So that big toe, as you can see on the left, is not even lit up right here.
Yeah.
Versus in here.
Yeah.
So that's probably just another amateur who practices aimed way right and then have to feel like they can optically see the target. And that's so much of it right there.
This is actually a compilation of professionals and amateurs overlaid over each other to get what the average pressure map is on an amateur versus a professional.
Yeah.
And Sean, you've been speaking for, I would almost say, decades about the importance of, as the professionals do, of putting the weight on the front foot. And Tiger at one point said his feeling was that 80% was on the front foot. He probably only had 56 or 60%.
Yeah, and that you know, that's the problem, right? That's where everything gets lost in transition. Is even Charlie Wee, who was the model of stack and tilt, right? And Charlie would set up and he would look this way big time, but on a driver he'd still be 80-20.
Yeah.
I mean, look, to extend that leg and keep creating a clockwise torque in the ground there, you got to be in it.
Yeah.
You know, that you could say the guy who moves off the ball and does this, he's going to have less over here and more over there. So
Yeah, so I guess for our HD viewers, the importance of pressure at address and how to distribute that and the impact it can have and the difference.
You can't move right unless you're left, and then you can't move left unless you're right. So if someone starts like this and they're over here, there's no way to take that moment and shift it into that position, right? They're already there. So technically, as soon as they go back to here, next thing you know, they're this way, and then what do they look like at the bottom?
Right.
Right? So even just, if someone wanted to get better at this, even just doing something simple like being in bare feet and just moving literally like, just simply like this, like lifting up the leg, just so many of us, like once we went to school in first grade, we were done playing. It was like, sit down, like show, like be heard or be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So how many people are doing enough athletically to engage themselves to make what is, for me, biomechanically, is the most complex movement of any sport?
You know, and one thing for both of you, thing for both of you is some parents nowadays say, "Oh, I want my kid to be a pro golfer, get a college scholarship," and the kids are not playing other sports. In my opinion, from what I see, it's very important to play a multitude of sports when you're young because you develop that athleticism.
We want to build athletes.
Yeah.
Because that's what golfers are. They're athletes.
And golfers become better golfers when they have, if you look at the history of a lot of golfers, you know, they could play multiple different sports. You have golfers that were great baseball players. You have golfers that were great hockey players. And that athleticism is built out in different sports. So
basketball, just all the jumping.
Yeah.
Developing hand-eye is just so massive. Okay, so you notice how stable you were before you took the club back. Maybe that didn't feel quite 50-50, but it definitely gave you a fantastic starting point